Okay, dollar. Now, this is a thing with the dollar, right? With pullbacks in the dollar, or with pullbacks in general. So I was looking at this a few days ago, right? When we got bars, and if I zoom in here, you can see a little bit better, right? If we've got bars like this, right? If you are a pullback trader, which I kind of am, but not really. This is not what I want to see, within a pullback. So yes, the path of least resistance is to the upside. Fundamentally, I believe dollar should be stronger, but we've had a decent move. Okay. So, and I know this is going against it, but I do like the technicals. I'm just a little bit worried about the dollar. There is some bearish momentum, if you think about these 3 days, to this pullback, and to this price action to the downside. So I wouldn't be buying the dollar just yet. Yeah, you could look at a pullback between that 38.2, 61.8 box, from this initial impulse. So we take this impulse as a trend from here to here. The dollar does like the 50. So you might get some reaction around here, but essentially we were, in terms of trend continuation, you're looking for a reason for the dollar to move to the upside kind of pretty soon. Because of the strength of this price action here, I wouldn't discount a possible complex corrective before continuation. So my overall bias to the dollar is up. I just think it may not, that strength in that dollar may not come for a little bit of time. And certainly the 4 hour does look bearish. We're underneath this 200. We've gone kind of impulse corrective, breaking through this area underneath the 200. I think that continues. I think that continues, and dollar weakness continues for a little bit until the market tells me it doesn't. Until the market tells me it doesn't, i.e. the RTE, the reason to enter dollar longs. I see the is going bullish. What is happening? The what? Keep going. Which pair? Anyway, so I'll go into the ones that I'm in. I'm actually in 2 trades in pound Aussie, which is probably got the record for the most boring trade I've ever been in. I actually entered this back here on this 4 hour chart here, on a pullback from this initial impulse, V reversal here up to this area. That aggressive strategy I have, which is kind of a pre-breakout strategy. So entered it in here, very close to being stopped out, and then we've just kind of continued in this larger wedging structure for quite some time, about 8 days now. So I've been in this trade for 8 days, and it's been a rocky road. I mean, it's coming up, down, again within this wedging structure. I still like it long. I still like the idea of selling the Aussie. Maybe not so much now buying the pound with some poor data, which caused this spike to the downside. But I think if we do get some bullish momentum here, theoretically, or theory dictates that this should really push to the upside, on account of the trend coming up into this structure was certainly bullish. So I'm in that. My stop is down here. As I said, this has been a properly boring trade, but I can't do anything about it. I've just got to sit here. My rules dictate I can't touch anything. I can't move anything. Whatever will be looking for this to break to the upside. And as I said, taking my bias hat off that I'm in this trade, I still like it long. From a daily perspective, possibly getting into this accumulation phase, from this V reversal, kind of head and shoulders down here. I would have expected pound Aussie to move to the downside once we broke out of this corrective, and it didn't. So I'm just looking, that we're not really getting follow through momentum. I'm just looking for that break, that follow through in pound Aussie to move to the upside. And maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, but I still like it long. I believe the euro is strong. Aussie dollar is the most boring trade. Yeah, there's a lot of consolidation over the last week or so, or pullback, and not really massive moves in some pairs. I believe the euro is strong and selling Aussie because of the China news and other. Yep. I mean, yeah, for those that don't know, Aussie is a proxy for the Chinese market. So Aussie weakness, I agree with. Also the pound ain't strong, right? The pound isn't strong either. But I do agree with Aussie weakness. I mean, you look at Aussie yen. So if we look at Aussie yen, that's usually where you probably initially look is a good idea for a trade. Selling the Aussie yen for me would make sense. Look at this on the daily chart. You've got your kind of complex corrective back to that 20, similar to what we've got here. It's risk off. You think about what the dollar chart looked like, right? So if you get a day, and remember, this daily is not closed. So if you get a day like this for a closure, as a daily pullback, or as a daily trade, selling the Aussie, buying the yen, that would absolutely make sense to me. So this is why you've kind of got not a lot of movement, is we've just been in pullback, but possibly this is your reason to short the Aussie yen if your daily closes like that. And ideally, if your daily closes on increasing volume, that would be I think quite a nice short Aussie yen. Tanashi, hey, how many pips do you recommend on the stop loss, or how best can I set my stop loss as a beginner without too much cash with a small account? Okay. How many? I don't really like the question, how many pips? I know there's strategies that look for 10 pips and 10 pip stop. I understand that. I don't really like that. For me personally, I like, my idea with my stop loss is the premise of the trade is wrong if my stop gets hit. So if I go back to pound Aussie, right? If I go back to pound Aussie, my stop was here because for me at this point in time, pullback was complete with the idea that this trend continues, right? So if I get a breakthrough here, from my mind, this is wrong. Yes, it could cohere and continue. Anything can happen. But from my mind, the premise of the trade is wrong if my stop is hit. So right now, even though I don't like this, even though this is boring and I'm just waiting through all this nonsense, right? The premise of my trade is not wrong because my stop is not hit. And I don't know about you guys, but what I used to do, right, is if I was caught in, let's say, something like this and moving down and getting worried that I would get stopped out, right, I would take the trade out. This is before I was consistent or profitable, right? And then what would happen? So what would happen after you take the trade out? Let's say on any kind of trade, you're getting worried that it's going to hit your stop loss. You take it out. What then happens, or what is bound to happen when you do that? When you take the trade out with your plan, yeah, exactly, Destiny. Yeah, it just goes like this, right? It goes in the direction because normally, yeah, exactly, Nick. Yeah, you're correct. I think I saw a stat that 70% of retail direction is correct, but the trade management and stuff is wrong. So this, for example, doing this and taking it out for me, say my stop's here, right, is more painful seeing this than getting stopped out. So I do not do it anymore. I don't do it anymore because that seeing this is so much more painful than hitting your stop loss. And like Mark Douglas said in Trading in the Zone, truly accepting the risk. You got to truly accept the risk of your trade, because if it gets stopped out, then it gets stopped out. Whatever, we move on. It ain't that bad. But doing something out with your plan that ends up in you feeling stupid and losing money, God, that's annoying. That's annoying.